All right, everyone, I am officially back. Now, I'll just wait a few seconds for everyone to come online. This time right now is just after 9 o'clock, July 29th, Mountain Standard Time. I'm recording this EE Live Q&A session especially for all of you. And it's going to take just a couple seconds. Now people are starting to come on. Awesome. So we did a poll to see what time was the best time for me to do these videos. And this is what everybody said. 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Saturday. And when I told my wife that I was coming here and I couldn't go to the lake with my kids, she said, "What?" And I said, "Hey, I've got to listen to the group members. I've got to listen to my other family too." And this time, the 50,000 people that are in our Express Entry Law Facebook group, well, they won the argument for today. And so welcome everybody. We'll give some time for people to log in and to get connected. I'm really excited to do this EE Live Q&A for all of you. I want to extend, actually, you know what? There's a lot of people that are new to this. And as you can see here, the lighting is a little bit off. It's not as good because it's getting dark. And normally I have this beautiful light. And if I could turn I've got these big windows that surround me here in my office. And it's just perfect for natural lighting for my videos. But at this hour, I can see I'm going to have to get another light. And so, because it's not very good, but that's all right. I'm assuming everybody can hear me fine. I'm not too loud. You can see me. That's pretty much good enough. If you could see what I did to try and get the light on me, you would laugh. It's hilarious. I taped my iPhone. I don't know if you can see it here. Oh, there it is. See? I taped my iPhone to the front of my iMac and turned the camera light on so that it would shine on me. So anyways, so we're good. I thought because we have so many new members, and like I said, we are just about at 50,000 members of our Express Entry Law Facebook group. So super excited about that. You can invite your friends right now to join, and I'll watch it carefully. And let's see, in the next hour or however long I spend here, let's see how long it takes to push us over that 50,000, because that would be fantastic. So if you know any friends are around and interested in tuning into this and joining our group, it would be fantastic to push us over the 50,000 mark by the end of this live Facebook video. All right. To introduce myself, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Mark Holthe. I am a Canadian immigration lawyer. Not a consultant, not an agent, not some crooked, unscrupulous person who wants to take advantage of you, but an actual Canadian lawyer who practices immigration law. Prior to becoming a lawyer, I worked on the Canada-US border as an immigration officer, and I also worked with the local hearings officers in Calgary, Alberta, as a pro bono volunteer student with them while I was going through law school. So that's my connection to immigration, and that's how I got into immigration law. Prior to working on the border and going to law school, I was a high school teacher. And I think that's why I love doing this so much. I love teaching. I love instructing. And you all have been fantastic. The kind of group that we've created is it's special. And it really makes me proud to say that I'm the founder of the Express Entry Law group because of the nature of the people that we have. We don't tolerate people that are disrespectful, that are just not there to help one another. There's no room for people who are just trying to be divisive. In other words, that are trying to stir up controversy. We are here to help everyone in this group obtain immigration status in Canada. You wouldn't be here if you weren't interested in trying to immigrate. So that's my purpose behind creating this, is to help all of you. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been away. And I think I shared a couple images. I went down to pick up my daughter, and I'll pull up a picture here. My daughter, Jessica, I went down to Idaho to pick her up from school, and while we were down there, we went to Yellowstone, and we spent a week, a little bit more than a week, with our family on a little bit of a vacation. And so while I was away, I wasn't able to answer all of your questions. But the people within this group were fantastic. There were not only people willing to answer questions, but every once in a while we get posts that are just, they're not cool. People post things that are not appropriate. And there's a lot of you that are now starting to flag those and help me with them. And so we were able to keep our group exactly how we want it. Just a safe place where people can share information without judgment, that they can get the direction that they need to choose to do it themselves, to know where to go to the government website to get resources. So that's the focus. So I'm going to pull that picture off. But we went down and picked up Jessica. And then this past week, I have to confess, I wasn't planning on being out of the office, but my daughter wanted to go on a trail ride, and so we went back up into the mountains. And I think I showed you this as well. So while we're waiting for some more people to come on, and I know there's some latecomers that are going to be joining us, but while we're waiting, I just want to show you a couple images. So this is another picture here. I was riding Dude, and this other horse here, that's Joe. That's our horse. You can see his head just in the picture there. But anyways, that's Dude, and I was riding Dude, and Jessica was riding our horse Joe. And I thought I would give you a taste of what it was like to actually be on the back of a horse. So this is a virtual ride. So check this out. You see all that tall grass? That's bear grass. It actually only blooms every 5 or 6 years. So we were going along this narrow trail, and for those of you who are tuning in the preview to this a couple days ago, I said I was going to share something special with you. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So check this out. Okay, actually, that's one thing. Look very carefully. Right by the shore, these guys were cruising the shore.
Look at them cruising.
Look at that cutthroat trout.
I want to.
See how he came up and surfaced? Well, I dropped my on there, and I caught a ton of fish. It was awesome. But here's what I wanted to show all of you for being here and present live. Check this out. So as we were riding on this trail, we saw 3 of these buddies here. A black bear. And he's big. Fortunately, he wasn't hungry. Sometimes you can run into problems, but that guy right there, that black bear, it was the first time I actually saw them on the trail, so it was totally cool. All right. Well, I think I have pretty much wasted enough time here to give other people an opportunity to join us. Like I said, I wanted to express just tremendous gratitude and appreciation for all of you who take the time to respond. And yesterday I tried to jump on and tried to answer some more questions and get caught up. And I spent probably 2.5 hours this morning, actually, on Saturday trying to answer people's questions. So those of you who come on and answer questions, thank you so much. I want to also express appreciation for those of you who put links back to the government website to source what you're saying, because that adds credibility. Because it's easy for us just to throw out a comment that's may or may not be accurate. But when we link back to the actual government website, that's when we know that answer is correct. So whenever you're leaving a comment, if someone asks a question and you're responding, please always try to link back to the government site. And some of you are probably wondering, okay, well, what is the government site? Well, I think most of you probably know. I'm just going to pull this up, and I'm going to make it full screen. And I'm going to type in right up here. You can type in a number of different things, but I usually do cic.gc.ca, and that will take you right to the government website right here. And then you can go through to immigration, and it gives you all the links back to how Express Entry works, find out if you can apply, all of these things. But Express Entry right here, this is the main website. All right? And so cic.gc.ca, this is the source. So when you're going and you're answering questions, always link back to this site if you can. And there's lots of great resources. And another one I'll show everyone. I just have to type in this completeness check. Completeness check, CICEE. This website right here, where it says applications received on or after January the 1st, 2015, this is the single most important resource for all of you, because this is the policy directives that the officers have to work from when they're deciding whether or not your application is complete. And so as you go through this site, you'll see there's a section here where it talks about the mandatory documents for all applicants. Then it talks about mandatory documents if applicable. So this is where you can get information on proof of funds, for example. We get lots of questions about that. A letter of offer from your employer. This gives us instructions on that. And one that we get more than any other, proof of work experience. So these are the instructions that the officers give. And I'm going to jump back out of this now, back into full screen. And so what you need to understand is that if your documents do not meet those specific expectations of the government, in other words, what they've asked for your letters to look like, or the exact way that they want you to provide proof of funds, if you are not meeting their expectations exactly, it can result in your application being returned. And there's nothing more frustrating to me than people who go on to our group and say, oh, don't worry about it. You don't need to do that. You know, for example, oh, if your reference letter isn't perfect, don't worry about it. You can just submit it without it. And some people have done that and got their express entry applications approved. But that doesn't mean that every person who submits their application is going to have the same result. And so just because one officer was lax and didn't actually follow the rigid law doesn't mean that the other 10 in their unit aren't going to take a different position and be very strict in their requirements. So at all costs, do everything that you can to comply fully with what the government has asked you to do. All right. Now, lots of people have been asking me questions. They've been tagging me, and I want to apologize if I have not been able to answer everyone's questions. Understand, 50,000 people is a lot of people, and as a result, it's kind of hard for me to get back to every single person. Others are sending me emails, and for those who are tuning in, this is an EE Live Q&A session, so question and answer. If you want me to answer your question within this Facebook Live video, what you need to do is send me an email to my email address right here, okay? So mholthy@stringham.ca, and in the subject line of your email, you are to put EE Live Q&A right here, okay? So that is how I know you want me to answer this question on our Facebook Live videos. Now, some of you send me, you do send me emails, and then you ask me specific questions, and that relate specifically to your situation. Like, can you assess my qualifications? Do I qualify for express entry? Or someone will say, here's my really difficult situation. Maybe I've got a medical condition, or I can't get my reference letter because my company is closed. What do I do? Those types of questions, well, even that last one I can probably answer, but some people say, I can't determine my proper NOC, the National Occupational Classification, for my job, my work experience. I'm stuck between 2 or 3. Which one do you think is the one that would fit for me? Well, those are specific questions. And so, unfortunately, I can't answer everybody's specific questions. I'm an immigration lawyer, and those are the questions, those are the things that I get paid to help people with. But the general stuff, absolutely. Now, some of you have been saying, okay, hey, can you answer my questions today in the comments section? The answer is yes, absolutely. I'm going to get to your questions. But first, I want to, and Mohammed was asking this, but first I need to answer the questions that the people sent me in via email. And then I also need, so I'm going to answer those. And then what I want you guys to do is hold off on your questions for now. And then when the time comes, then start posting them, because it's really hard for me to scroll back through the comments and to read all of yours. So when I give you the word, when I say, okay, post your questions, then you can do it. And I'll answer those live right here. And hey, let's face it. You know, as a Canadian immigration lawyer, if I can't answer your questions live, then let's face it, I'm a phony. And there will be times when maybe I won't have this specific answer you're looking for, but I'll show you where to find it. And the problem I have with a lot of these fancy websites, and you know, there's this big team of people that are posting these things, and they've got the latest news and notifications. There's other groups that you don't even know who you're talking to. They're just faceless and nameless. And that's not me. When you retain our firm, you get me. You get Billy, my right arm, who was an ex-immigration officer for many years. And we're the ones that actually work for you. And so I don't apologize for my higher fees, because you get us. But because of the higher fees, and because I know many of you in Asia Pacific, in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, even Nigeria, other countries, because I know that you cannot afford necessarily to pay me $5,000 Canadian in legal fees, which is what I charge to fully represent someone with express entry. And I'm representing many of you right now, because I know all of you can't afford it. That's why I created this. And I talk about it a lot. It's the express entry complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself. And many of you tag me in the comments and say, hey, Mark, can you answer this question? Well, I can tell you that more than likely, that question has already been answered right in here. And as I've told many people, I charge $39 US per month. So it's a monthly subscription, which automatically renews. So once you pay it and you put your credit card information in, it will automatically renew unless you cancel it. And so I created this for you at a price that anybody could afford. And the reason I did it was because I was tired of hearing about people that are being taken advantage of by crappy consultants and just people who don't know what they're doing, or people who are just out to take your money. And I'm not going to start naming all the consultants that people have brought up on our Express Entry Law Facebook group. I'm not going to do that. But the reality is there's a lot out there, and they don't know anything more than you guys do, especially after being in our group. You become super educated by joining our Facebook group, because everybody answers everyone's questions. Well, you know more than many of them because you've got this resource. Well, the reality is I created this Express Entry group for you. And I always get on here and I plug it and I say, hey, it's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And if there's other people that are already on here that have subscribed, I'd love for you to leave your comments. But I thought today, just as another portion of this, I was actually going to show you, it was completely, it wasn't scripted or anything, but I got a testimonial that I wanted to share with you all. A doctor, a dentist in India. And so listen to what she's got to say about it. Oh, great. So it looks like it's sideways. All right, well, I guess I probably will need to shift this around unless some of you are, and Crystal, she saves me. She says, it's awesome, the step-by-step guide. Thank you. I was going to do this. It was going to be so awesome. Then I'm going to have to fix it because it's, I have an idea. I don't need to necessarily embed it. Let's see here. If I share my screen, let's see. And then I open this up. Oh yeah, this will work. See, it's all about going with the flow, being creative. Okay, I'm going to show this, and I think everybody should be able to hear here. And I'm going to blow this up as big as I can. Okay, and then I'm going to play it.
Rashima, I'm a dentist practicing in India. I'm here to tell you that how is this step-by-step guide. Initially, when our family decided to migrate to Canada, we had many doubts in our mind that how to proceed. Some people told us that we should consult agencies. Some people told us that we should proceed by ourselves. Then accidentally one day I found this group, Express Entry group on Facebook, and on searching on this group I found this step-by-step guide by Mark Hall. After subscribing this, I must tell you that it is a very nice guide, very clearly and crisp made guide by Mark Hall, and it has cleared many of my doubt, and I must say that it has by proceeding by this procedure by myself, I saved hard-earned money, a lot of hard-earned money, and I highly recommend this guide to everybody out there who are aspiring to migrate to Canada. And I thanks Mark Hall for making such a nice guide, and I wish him a great success in future, and I wish that he will continue helping people like us who aspire to migrate to Canada. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So that is Dr. Bhatnagar, a dentist who was kind enough to provide me with a little video testimonial. So anyways, I thought you guys might like that for the simple reason that I'm here plugging it all the time. Obviously, Crystal was kind enough to voice some comments as well. All right. I just wanted to let you know, with respect to the Express Entry law, the Express Entry complete step-by-step guide, on July 31st, I'm closing it. So there won't be any ability to log in to get a new subscription. All of you who have already subscribed will be able to continue to benefit from it. But because of the success of the guide, I want to make it even better. So I'm going to be adding a few things to it. I'm going to be re-recording some of the videos to make them just a little bit better. And obviously, I'm going to be increasing the price just a little bit. I wanted to do this at a very low level for all of you guys so that you could afford it. And so up until July 31st, which is a couple days from now, you'll be able to continue to access it at the $39 US a month that I charge. And that will be honored. So if you got in at that rate, it will stay at that rate for you. But I'm going to close it on July 31st, and then it's probably going to take me a month or 2 months to get it to where I want it to be. But I don't want to have a product out there unless it is perfect. And so the product that it is right now, with the price that it's at right now, is perfect. I'm super happy with it, but I'm going to make it even better. So all of you who would like to connect and purchase a subscription, I know it'll help you. And it's not just my voice anymore. So, all right, I've done enough plugging this stuff, and thank you for your patience. This is what allows me to do this, guys. With my law firm, they expect me to get so many billable hours every day, but this is how I can justify doing all this free stuff. So it's those who subscribe to this guide. All right, so enough of that. It's now time to get to my first EE Live Q&A question, and I'm going to grab it here. Let's see here. This is what happens when you don't have an assistant here to guide. When I'm doing this myself, I'm the techie, I'm the cameraman, I'm the audio controller, but it's all good. I found what I was looking for. So here, I'm going to hold this up so everybody can see it. Actually, maybe I shouldn't hold that up. I apologize, Nadil. What I was focusing on here, actually, I'm going to cover this over again, and I'm going to hold it up like this so you can see. Okay. Do you see that in the subject line? Do you see where it says EE Live Q&A right there? All right. That's what you got to put in your subject line for your email, because I search that way. So if you put that in there, I'll get the question. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in. So hello, Mark. It seems that, okay, okay, here we go. I know this one. Hello, Mark. It seems that you are so busy, but as it is the 29th of July, I want to take a decision to buy the mighty step-by-step guide, or you will suggest me to buy it after the changes to be made, as I am into the very initial stage and just gathering the required documents. Okay, I get this question all the time. People say, well, I'm not quite ready to submit my application. Should I get it now? And then there's other people that say, I'm in the process of submitting my profile. Is the guide good for me now? And then there's those who already have their ITA and say, well, should I get it? The answer to everybody is yes, because I walk you through right from the very beginning all of the aspects of Express Entry from the beginning to the end, from registering for your MyCIC account to determining whether or not you qualify, tips and strategies on improving your chances of success if you don't right now, and that's all embedded in it. And then as well as the complete walkthrough, video walkthrough of every aspect of how to complete the guide. So the answer, Nadil, for you is absolutely. But remember, it's a monthly subscription. So if you only want to have the subscription for a month, you only need it for a month. So if you jump in, check it out, determine, where you stand. If you don't want to submit right away and you want to hold off, then you can unsubscribe and then log back in and for another month. So I designed it to make it as flexible as possible for people. Okay, but you're tired of listening to this, me plug the guide, so I'm going to try to stop talking about it. Okay, this one is from Venkat, and he says, I follow your live Q&A on Facebook. Thank you for helping all the candidates with their questions. I am an employee in Canada trying to get to Canadian Experience class. So this is a little bit different. Many of you are going through the Federal Skilled Worker Program because you're not in Canada right now. Well, he says, I just have a few questions. I understand if you're busy and cannot answer these questions. I'm just hoping to get some answers and see where I stand for a permanent residence. Okay, so he says, long story short, my CRS score when calculated showed 513 points, and when I created an EE profile, it ended up at 463. When I compare them both on CRS, there was a section with additional points that added and bumped my score to 513. I'm confused as to how this works. Now he says, I created and submitted the profile on the 24th this month. The draw did not happen until July 25th as expected. My second question, okay, so he says, my second question is, and this is the one that I wanted to get to, because when it comes to the drop in points, it's really difficult to say why your calculations did not equate to the same calculations that you got back when you submitted your profile. The additional points, it depends on how you answer the question. So I'll need to connect with you, and often I'll go through people's profiles for them, and they book a paid consultation with me, and then I'll go through and help them resolve the issue. But the second question, he says, if I get an ITA and I manage to submit all my files and wait for further decision to be made by CIC, am I okay to leave the country for 2 weeks, as I have some family matters to take care of? And so after you get your ITA, and if I think what he's indicating here, if he actually files his eAPR, can he leave? Absolutely. If you have a valid work permit, a valid visitor visa, absolutely you can leave. And for him, in this case, with the Canadian Experience class, that's the difference. So you do not actually even need to continue working under the CEC, the Canadian Experience class, because you've already met the eligibility requirements if you've been able to show that you have had 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada in the previous 3 years. So because Venkat is qualifying under the Canadian Experience class, then he has the flexibility to leave the country and to go see family. Now, if it's just a short paid vacation, no problem at all. But even if it's unpaid, as long as your employer is not giving you points for a job offer where you need to continue working for them, then, well, even in those circumstances, the job offer is for futuristic. It's for when you obtain permanent residence, they agree to hire you. So there's lots of flexibility. But don't be deceived. And this is the problem sometimes we have with our group. Sometimes people mix up the Canadian Experience class qualifications with the Federal Skilled Worker Program. And so for those of you who are outside of Canada, if you're inside Canada and you're applying through the Federal Skilled Worker Program, then there is an expectation that you're going to continue to work for that company in order to get your points for your job offer. So, but in your case, Venkat, I don't see this as being a problem. Okay. Once again, your response will be truly appreciated, as I don't think anyone is on the same boat as I am. Please let me know. And you're right, Veknat. The reality is when you are in Canada working, you're really a minority now. Because when 10 years ago when I started doing a lot of foreign worker immigration law, there was tons and tons of foreign workers in Canada, but our economy has kind of sputtered a little bit, and so there's not as many companies bringing in foreign workers. But don't be deceived, you guys. There was a whole post on whether people can actually get established in Canada, whether they have job opportunities. And I'm going to have a different Q&A on that. I don't want that to dominate this EE Live Q&A, but there are opportunities. Because when you come to Canada, you compete on a level playing field with Canadians. And by and large, foreign workers are 100 times better, or foreign nationals who are permanent residents are 100 times better than the local Canadians, who are lazy, entitled. And I can say this because it's my Express Entry Law Facebook video. I can say whatever the heck I want. Well, the reality is, generally speaking, you guys are much more committed and dedicated and loyal and are willing to work hard. And you're intelligent. And you have so much to offer. And so don't feel like if you come here, you're just going to be relegated in low-skilled jobs. The reality is, if you guys have to come with far better English skills than most of the immigrants in the past, and that's going to play to your favor. And once you adopt the Canadian culture and you take the time to become integrated, that's how opportunities move for you. So there's that question. So let's jump to another one. Okay. You know what? Crystal, you're on here. So, Crystal, I am going to answer your questions. Now, you've got a lot in here. You've got 4, so I'm just going to pick out a couple. But Crystal Cortez, this one is from you. So, she says, questions regarding employment history and job reference letter. That's awesome. That totally helps me to drill down on the exact topic you want to cover. So, I worked in a multinational IT company which changed its name multiple times, yes, during the course of my employment. That happens all the time in IT. Here are my questions. In the employment history, should I put the current name of the company or its name when I was employed with them? Okay, to answer the first one, always put their current name. If you wanted and they were willing within your record of employment, they could provide a little paragraph at the beginning of their record of employment letter that says, this is the name of our company. Previous to that, we were this name. Previous to that, we were that name. But if they're not willing to do that, that's okay. You can also include a separate letter of explanation explaining the history of the company and how the names have changed. So not a big deal at all. And then Crystal says, related to question 1, I asked for a reference letter with them, and the heading is now in the current company name. If I put the old name, will this confuse IRCC? Just use the current name. Not a problem. And like I said, and then just explain. That name is not a big deal. Just explain why, if there's any discrepancies. Okay, the company also operates in a different legal name in my country of employment. Should I put the international name or the legal name in the country? Both names appear in the reference letter. Well, if you look at your pay stub, sometimes I'll have people use the name of the company that's on your pay stub, but sometimes payroll is generated from another country. So if there's any confusion, I always use the name of the company where you're working in that facility that you're working at. So if the reference letter covers both of them, then I would just go with the name of the company in your country. That's the best way of doing it. And then if there's any confusion or you think an officer might not understand something, then just attach a separate sheet and upload it when it comes to the eAPR section. So when you're doing your profile, you don't have the ability to explain anything. But when you get your ITA and you're filing your eAPR, there's a section for you to upload a letter of explanation, and that's where you explain the differences in the company. Okay? Okay, and last question. I'll answer them all. So I hold different roles in that company on the course of my almost 5-year employment, so with them. But it's in the same job title, adding only numbers when I get promoted. Yes, we see this a lot with IT. So technology consultant 1, tech consultant 2. Should I put in all roles in the employment history? My reference letter indicates all roles, including the job title, and all are under the same NOC. Okay, so follow your reference letter. Your reference letter drives or sails this ship. Okay, so it guides this ship. Your reference letter is the one that's going to guide it. And so if your reference letter breaks it all down into separate positions, then you can as well. There's no harm in doing that. And then what happens is when you're filling it in different positions, you've got some choices. When it comes to your electronic application for permanent residence, it may require you to upload your letter the same exact letter that covers all the positions into each of those slots. So that's one way you can do it. But there are multiple ways. Another way is if your job duties, I'm assuming with the increase in responsibility, maybe your duties change a little bit. But if it's all under the same NOC, then you can technically explain or list that one NOC and put the time that you worked there in one block within your profile, because it's all under the same NOC code, and that's all the government really cares about. But when it comes time for the eAPR, that's where you're going to explain, I worked in these various positions. So either way, it doesn't matter. You'll be just fine. And great questions. I know lots of people are asking that. Okay, this is Akram's question. So Akram, he said, hello, Mark. And you know what? I look at the email address. So this is Sam. All right, Sam. I have a question that I'm sure plenty of our group members are thinking about. Does marking your spouse, yes. Okay, we've had this one. So, does marking your spouse as a non-accompanying affect your application in any way? The reason can be just because you wanted to get more points, so you could get an ITA, which is one of the strategies. So you can first settle in Canada and then bring them, or even they have to stay behind for school, etc. How do immigration officers look at it? Can that be considered as misrepresentation? All right, I'm going to show you something. So, right here, I asked these folks right here, the big guy, I asked him, because he's one of the guys that oversees, just a quick little snap there of the picture. I asked him about that, and he said, yes, Mark, we recognize there is a little bit of a loophole there. And what I mean by loophole, and I don't like that term, some people, they list their spouse as non-accompanying so that they get the full 40 points, or at least they maximize their comprehensive ranking system points. And then, this is before now, Sam, before their application for permanent residence is approved, they make a request to add their spouse on at the last minute. Now, I would never, ever, ever advise anyone to do that, because I feel it is a little bit disingenuous. But from a legal standpoint, there is nothing illegal, nothing that would be misrepresentation about doing that. In other words, I would never use it as a strategy outright to just to curtail the loss of those 40 points. But from the government standpoint, if someone, for whatever reason, and I'm not saying what the various reasons are, maybe they chose to stay back and wrap things up in your home country, and they knew that their job was going to be really good for a year or 2 years, and they didn't want to give up that job. Or maybe they are finishing school. Or maybe there's an elderly parent that your spouse needs to stay behind to watch. So whatever the reason is, and don't use, I want to get more points for my comprehensive ranking system score. That I think would be disingenuous. But if there are legitimate reasons, and then circumstances change before your permanent residence as the principal applicant, before it's finalized by the government, you actually can add a spouse. And it's interesting because I just had a consultation, I think it was yesterday, with one of our Express Entry Law Group members who's in this exact situation and has retained me to assist her in adding the spouse in before her permanent resident application is finalized. Now, for sure, it will delay things, but as the officer confirmed with me, there is no rule against that. You can actually do it. So yes, it has the added advantage of avoiding the 40 points that you would lose if your spouse's human capital factors are low. In other words, if your spouse has low language, low post-secondary education, and low work experience, then, or no Canadian work experience, or their language skills are low, all of those factors can cause you to lose a lot of points. And so if, for whatever reason, your spouse decides to stay behind and you list them as non-accompanying, then you do get that full credit as if you're applying as an individual applicant. And let's face it, couples are prejudiced by the express entry system, because often the principal applicant whether it's the husband or the wife or whoever it may be, they often are the one with the strongest language ability, the strongest scores for their educational credential assessments, and the best work experience. And so when you factor in all of those things, you can see how it really punishes couples if the spouse maybe is a homemaker, like my wife is. And she doesn't have a post-secondary degree. She has devoted her life to caring for our 4 children. And that was a decision we made when I went to law school. So that's a separate discussion. But anyways, yes, Sam, it's possible. And as long as you have not misrepresented, in other words, I don't even like to use that misrepresent. It's more just almost unethical. Like as a lawyer, I would never counsel or advise someone to do that. But if they retain me to help them to fix it after they've declared a spouse as non-accompanying, then I'll help them to navigate it because it is legal, and that was confirmed by the government. At least as of today, July 29th, there's no issues. And I always have to qualify it because the law can change in one day. But as it stands right now, it's possible. Okay, my last one right here. All right. So this one is from Santhi. And Santhi says, "Hi, Mark. I really enjoy watching your videos on Express Entry. They are helpful too. I have a doubt. Once we submit Express Entry profile, so this is at the profile stage, till when can I edit my profile, especially work history? Does editing make it as a misrepresentation? Can anyone edit their profile after getting a notification of interest letter from a province and before submitting full application to immigration nomination program? I'm eagerly awaiting for your reply." Okay, Shanthi, I can tell you that up until the time when you basically before you receive an ITA, you can make all the changes in the world. It doesn't make a difference. And even if you're going through the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, your work experience, I have to assume that any changes you make are going to be a positive change. In other words, something that's adding to your work history. Because otherwise, why would you put something in that wasn't accurate? You know, that's the reality. So if you put something in that isn't accurate and then try to reduce it down after you've received, say, a notification of interest from the OINP, the Ontario PNP, well, then that's going to be a problem. But adding to, strengthening, increasing work experience, those things will never be an issue at all, ever. And so if you can make changes to your profile all the way up until the point you receive your ITA. And when you receive your invitation to apply, that's when your profile is locked and you can't go back and make any changes to it. So no, it's not misrepresentation. So unless, like I said, you actually did misrepresent something and indicate work history that you never had. Awesome. Okay. Those are the folks, at least this group, and believe me, I had more, that I chose to answer questions here within our the listener, the emails that were sent in to me. Now what I'd like you to do is to post your comments. And we are sitting right now at about 42 minutes, and I want to be responsive to you guys. I want to answer your questions. So I'm going to do the very best I can now. So post your comments, and then I will answer these comments live. And one of the advantages I have of doing that is when Justin goes on, he can actually list all the different things that we talk about in the video, because we can go back to the comment thread right there and remember everything that I answered. While we're waiting for those questions to come through, I want to share one other thing that I got just the other day that I'm super proud of. And so I'm going to stick it up here, and you can see Who's Who Legal Corporate Immigration 2017. So this publication is it's something that is released every year, and I want to show you the letter that came with it here, and I think everybody can probably see this. It says Who's Who Legal Corporate Immigration 2017, and it says, I would like to congratulate you on being nominated by your peers as one of the world's leading, see if everybody can see this, practitioners in this field. And I'm delighted to enclose your copy of this publication. And so this basically, what it is it's my peers, it's my colleagues around the world that recognize me as being one of the top corporate immigration lawyers representing my country. And so I'm going to also put this up here. I'm going to show you. So this is what I'm really proud of. If I can get this in front of everybody here. There I am. There's Canada. Sorry, there. You probably can't even hear me. I'm going to raise this up here too. All right. So there's Canada, there's Alberta, and there is Mark Holthe, me and 3 others. Michael Green, QC, and Kevin Zemp, awesome lawyers. Both of them were past national chairs of our Canadian Bar Association's immigration section. And so this publication here that I have right here means a ton to me, because it's not me just like beating my chest like this and saying, hey, I'm awesome, I'm awesome. These are my peers, people that I respect, that have put their vote in and basically have endorsed me as someone who knows what they're doing and a leader in my field. So that means a ton to me. All right. Now, let's jump back. I'm done patting myself on the back, which it seems like that's what this has been, so I apologize for that. Okay, let's see if I can scroll back here quickly. They're coming fast. Okay. Okay, so this one. Okay, let's go. Nick Furqui, I think. Sorry I didn't follow through from the beginning, but I wish to ask quickly a question. If my spouse already has permanent residence, must I do spousal sponsorship, or can I apply for EE? What is the advantage of one over the other if the latter is possible? All right. Well, it all comes down to whether you feel you are going to get an invitation to apply. So if you've got very high comprehensive ranking system scores, like 450, then express entry may be a few months faster than spousal sponsorship. But if you are looking at spousal sponsorship, some of the advantages of it: 1, it's still going to be under a year processing. And 2, if you have a work permit in Canada, or if you have an ability, if you're in Canada, you can get an open work permit after about 4 months to start working. Or if you're currently in Canada working, you can extend that existing work permit based on your spousal sponsorship. So there's those advantages. If you're overseas and you're applying, it's really the same thing. It's processing times. So in many cases, express entry will go a little bit faster than spousal sponsorship, but ultimately you could submit both. You could do both. There's no restriction on the number of permanent resident applications you file, and that's what some people don't understand. Now, your spouse can only sponsor you at a time, so she couldn't sponsor parents and grandparents while at the same time sponsoring you. You can't have more than one sponsorship, but as an applicant, you can have as many different applications as you want. So, great question. Not totally focused on this group, but hey, I'm open season here. Okay, Cynthia. Hello, Mark. Thanks so much for providing a platform like this for us to ask our questions. God bless you immensely. Thank you so much. That means a lot. And I'm a God-fearing man myself, and so that means a lot to me. I have a degree, and so does my husband. I have 2 years and half work experience, but my husband doesn't. Because he had never got to work for anyone and earned salary since he'd always been in charge of our personal business. Yes, so that makes perfect sense. One person is at home taking care of the domestic affairs. So since 2012, which simply means he can't qualify for any program under Express Entry. Okay, this is a long one here. All right, please, what are our chances of being selected if I decide to apply as the principal applicant and my husband has a dependent applicant and without a job experience? Would appreciate if you kindly answer my questions. I'm terribly confused. Well, the answer is you are the only one that can apply. It doesn't matter whether it's you or your husband. Ultimately, if your husband doesn't have any work experience, he doesn't qualify. So you are the only one that can proceed forward. So that's what I would do. I would proceed forward on that basis. And the fact that he does not have work experience actually doesn't hurt you very much. It's more focused on how well he speaks English and his education that he's obtained. And so that's where the bulk of the points for spouses come from. All right. Rika. Hi, Mark. Can 401k be used as proof of funds? Thanks. This is a good question. I just recently, and on this topic, someone else I'm not sure if someone will address this, but proof of funds is a very sticky issue, and everybody has a thought on it. 401k absolutely can be used, but I can tell you that when the government asks for bank statements showing funds, I take that literally. And if you have whether in Canada it's RSPs, registered savings plans, retirement savings plans. Other countries have other names for them. The U.S. obviously 401k. With those funds, I always convert them. And I know that people don't like to do that. What if I don't get my express entry? What if I don't get approved? And converting those funds over and then getting that bank letter, I don't want to lose out on pulling those funds out and getting a penalty. Well, let's take a look at this. I want to show you guys so you can understand this. They're going to go to this. This is the magical page, right? This is the page where all of the knowledge is. So let's go right here to this site, and I'm going to shrink this down so everybody can see it. Boy, I've got to do something about that, about that light. I know you guys can barely see me, but I'm just about blind right now with this flashlight. Boy, the iPhone sure has a bright light. Okay, proof of funds. Let's take a look at this. And I think everybody should be able to see this because I've got it nice and big. So the key is obviously that you have sufficient funds, but this is what you need to provide. So an official letter from one or more financial institutions that lists all current bank and investment accounts, as well as outstanding debts such as credit cards, debts, and loans. So the letter must be printed on letterhead of the financial institution, must include the applicant's name, contact information, and all of this information. But this is the key. The account numbers and the date each account was opened and the current balance of each account, as well as the average balance for the past 6 months. And so I always say to myself, well, why do they want to know the average balance for the past 6 months? Like, why do they care? Well, it usually results from the source of the money. And if someone has that amount in their bank account for 6 months, there's a greater likelihood that they actually own that money. It's theirs. Whereas if we have a gift or someone received money into their account in one lump sum, there's somewhat of a tendency for the government to think, well, is that just a loan? And understand that these funds are meant to establish yourself in Canada. And so when I look at this, clearly your 401ks are investment accounts. So this seems to contemplate current bank account and investment accounts. So if your financial institution can provide this investment account, which breaks down the amount of dollars that you have available, I would make sure that that value of that investment is going to be well above the cutoff. Obviously, whenever you take money out of an investment account, there's often penalties associated with it, but those funds have to be liquid. In other words, they have to be readily usable. And in some of these investment accounts, there are penalties, and that would maybe cause the amount that you have in that account to be lower once you've actually pulled it out. So in my mind, and when I read this, every single time, my position is I want that hard cash available in my account to be used for whatever purposes on the spot. And that's what I advise all my clients. Now, you can go on anywhere. You can go on immigration forums. You can go on other Facebook groups. And they're always saying, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Yes, you can just provide proof of it. You can get gifted amounts from family, friends. Just track where it comes from. Well, that may be okay. It may be. But I don't like representing my clients with maybes. I want 100% certainty. The law says this, therefore we will provide this. And the interesting part is, even this information we have on this site, this information here, and I'm going to shrink it back down again and get back here where you guys can see me. Even this information that the government shares is just policy. So it's not necessarily the law, but they treat it like the law. So unless you want to get into a big court battle over whether what you've done has been enough to satisfy the actual immigration regulations, the ministerial instructions, well, you can do that. Or you can do everything in your power to try to comply with their policy directives right here. So, in all honesty, there may be people out there that disagree and say this is overboard. But if you cash it out and make sure that you have those funds in your account, and I will actually leave them in my account for 6 months. So if they're asking for the balance for 6 months, well, I want it to show that full proof of funds for the full 6 months. And you know what? When it's in there for 6 months, I can tell you with 100% degree of certainty that that will satisfy the proof of funds requirement. But anything less than that, you run a risk. And I don't believe in practicing that way. It may be inconvenient. You may lose out on interest that you would have otherwise been able to gain because you now have to have, anywhere from, $20,000 or give or take, depending on the size of your family, in Canadian dollars. But you have to understand that any deviation from these policy directives, there's no guarantees. And I don't like to practice that way. All right. Let's see here now. See how far. Okay, so now I've got Rika. Okay, Suvam has given me a thumbs up. Great, Suvam. Okay, Shirley Lopez. What to expect after I send additional document? Please clearance. What to expect after I send additional document? Please clearance. I'm trying to read your mind, Shirley. My mind to your mind. My mind to your mind. I'm not sure what you're asking, Shirley. Okay, I'm going to get you to rephrase that, and then we'll circle back Shirley Lopez a little bit later. Okay, Alban Anthony. Hi, I'm planning to immigrate to Canada. My present CRS score is only 379. What is your advice on registering now? There's no harm in registering your profile. There isn't. Obviously, the likelihood of it dropping down to 379 is pretty low. But understand that there are some PNP programs that could be drawing people out with a lower comprehensive ranking system score, like the Ontario program. There's IT and different categories like that, where a provincial nominee program could have a certain stream that they create that targets people in a certain occupation. And in those cases, maybe your comprehensive ranking system score might be lower, but so may all the other candidates that have that same occupation. Now, I've told you guys all repeatedly, I hate the PNPs. I hate them because they're so unpredictable. They give all this false hope and then they dash people's hopes. It takes an eternity. Just because you got a notification of interest from the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program doesn't mean anything. Well, it means that you have the chance to apply, but often they close before you even get a chance to get it submitted because there's so many people clamoring for those few positions. And remember, in most provinces, it ranges from 5,500 to 6,500 spots. That's it per year, right? So how many invitations to apply do we have each draw? Well, upwards of 3,000. So that's the response there. Okay. Mohit Gautam says, Mark, when will be the next draw? Any clue? Okay, just wait. Ooh, I have no clue. Anybody who thinks they have, you've seen how many people. The draw is going to happen on Wednesday. It always happens on Wednesdays. Well, okay, where's the draw? There's no predictability to this. There is no set schedule. No one knows. So we always have to just go on the basis of taking advantage of whatever we can right now and then doing this, crossing our fingers and hoping for the best. So Mohit, I can't answer that. We could guess and maybe create some kind of a fun lottery trying to guess when the next draw is going to be, but no one really knows. Okay, let's see. Crystal's got another question for me here. Okay, Mark, on the step-by-step guide, eAPR section, you said that we should choose yes under questions. Have you applied for permanent residence before? If we have applied for a visitor visa to Canada for, I hope I didn't make, I hope I didn't, if I said that, then that was a slip of the tongue. Permanent residence is permanent residence. A visitor visa is a visitor. It's a temporary application. So no, the question, have you applied for permanent residence before? A visitor visa is not permanent residence. So my apologies if there's any confusion. I want you to send me a quick email to this email address right here. Tell me where I said that, and I'm going to go back and verify whether there was just some miscommunication or whether I need to revise that video to remove that, because I definitely don't want anyone to interpret that. Now, if you did and you listed your visitor visa application as a permanent resident application, you're never going to be prejudiced, right? They're never going to give you trouble for volunteering more information than you actually needed to. The problem, and I've seen this happen before, if people indicate, no, I haven't applied for permanent residence, and they actually did. Maybe 10 years ago, they tried under the old federal skilled worker program and then forgot. So that can be considered as misrepresentation and result in a refusal. Okay. All right, Deng. All right, Deng Nguyen. Hi, Mark. I have enough funds required, but it's in cash, which I saved when I was working. and I have bank statements showing that money transferred from my company I worked in the past. Can I just put the amount of money into a bank account and use the statements as justification? Thank you. Holy crap. You have that much money in cash? All right. Well, ultimately, you need to put it in your account. You need to put it in a bank account. And why? Because I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to flip down to here. So, proof of funds. What do you need for proof of funds? You need the letter must be printed on letterhead. So you need a letter from the financial institution. And why do they ask for that? They want to know the source of those funds, right? They want to make sure that those funds are not what we call in Canada, at least in legal terms, ill-gotten gains. You know, that maybe you weren't running some money laundering business or some illegal business that resulted in you getting all that cash. And so they want to know the source of it. And so as long as you can trace that source into the account, definitely put the cash into the bank account and then go from there. Okay? All right. Next, let's see here. Okay. Ritika says, hey, Mark, can I use my Provident Fund statement as proof of funds? Oh, you guys are killing me. I don't understand sometimes this terminology from the other banks. Provident Fund statement, I'm assuming it's some type of an investment, and I would probably treat that exactly as I did with the question that we received up here. Let's see, I can't remember. Oh, it was the one that I had. Who asked it? I can't remember. Yeah, Rika, the same one that Rika asked about the 401k. Same answer for you. If it's an investment account, I convert it, and I know that that's probably above and beyond what other people would do, but I just don't take any chances. So if that Provident Fund is an investment, then I convert it into your bank account, so it's liquid cash. Because remember, when you pull it out, often you're losing something. All right, Vpool. Okay, Vpool's asking about LMIAs, which is kind of off topic, but hey, I'm trying to answer everyone's questions, so let's see what we can do here. How LMI letter issued? When employer file LMIA for employees, can candidate track the status? And when LMIA comes, who will get first, candidate or employer? The LMIA process is an employer-driven process, so the only part you play in it is providing your employer with your nationality, your passport, your date of birth, and your full name, essentially. And that is used when the employer is applying for the LMIA. But you, as an individual, really have no control over it. It all comes back to the employer. When it's approved and issued by ESDC, their delivery arm, Service Canada, it will come to the employer, and then they will provide your portion that you will then take to go get your work permit. But from your question, Vpool, I'm wondering if maybe you have some questions about the legitimacy of who is offering this LMIA. And we have already seen in our Facebook group how many people have been screwed over and taken advantage of by crooked people offering job offers, right? Pay us $10,000, pay us $15,000 Canadian or more, and I've got an employer who will give you a job offer. Well, in the past, that job offer meant a golden ticket to permanent residence for Canada. Now it's not quite the same. You don't get 600 points for it anymore. It's basically 50 points unless you're a NOC 00 senior executive or senior managerial level position. Then you get 200 points. But for most other people, it's just 50. But I shouldn't say just 50 because that can make the difference between immigrating and not. But for you, Vpool, yeah, I would understand that you have no control over the process. And so, yeah, you just don't. And remember, you cannot pay for that process. It's illegal for you to pay anyone to get an LMIA for you. The company has to pay for it. They have to take responsibility. They have to pay the processing fees that apply if you're applying for a work permit. If it's just to support your permanent residence, then there isn't a processing fee, but they have to be responsible. You do not pay. Okay. Mohammed's got another question. Mark, my wife is a secondary school teacher, has done her master's in science, major genetics, and I'm higher secondary pass out. She has more than 4 years of teaching experience. However, she isn't qualifying in IELTS. She is only getting 5.5. Don't know what to do. Okay. And this is, Mohammed, this is one of the situations that's really what I would call, it's a specific question. It's one that relates specifically to you guys. And this is where people engage me. They pay $210, which is essentially the Canadian fee for a 30-minute consultation with me. And in that time, in that 30 minutes, we can canvass your whole history, and we can take a close look at where things are at with you and your wife, and then I can provide you with the detailed response and the legal advice that you really need. So it's not something that I'm able to answer right here as far as options. Now, there may be some general things I can say. Ultimately, the question comes down to, are you able to be a principal applicant? I see you've got higher secondary pass out, and she's probably got the higher education, but English drives the ship with express entry, my friend. So, but yeah, I recommend that you contact my office and set up a paid consult, and we can talk about it in detail. I'll provide the links for everything in the comment section once this is done. So hang in there with me. All right. Okay. Gurwinder. I'm in Canada on a postgrad work permit. I'm working 2 jobs. One of them is in NOC-C, while the other is in NOC-B. That's around 70 to 80 hours per week. I'll be applying for CEC, and obviously during my profile creation, I'll be inputting just my NOC-B. Is it okay, or do I need to disclose about my second job or include my income tax return? Okay, this is a tough one, Gurwinder. Remember, full-time for the purposes of Canadian immigration is 30 hours a week. So within the 70 to 80 hours, if at least 30 are within the NOC-B, then that's all you need to worry about. You don't need to say anything about the other NOC-C except in your personal history when we reach the eAPR stage, once you receive your ITA. But yeah, you're definitely, you want to, if your NOC-B is not achieving at least 30 hours per week, then you've got a problem. And if you're using some of your NOC-C work, and maybe I can't tell if it's with the same company or otherwise, but if the NOC-B is really, that's what drives the ship. So you need at least 30 hours and then 1,560 hours per year, 1,560 hours per year as a minimum. And then, yeah, so that's the answer for that. Okay, Dilpreet, Mark, quick question. I've just received a mail asking to pay my right of permanent resident fee. So how long it takes to get PR from here? Congratulations, Dilpreet. That is awesome. I'm so happy for you. Ultimately, sometimes my clients will pay the full 1,040 right at the beginning, so there's no delays. And so I honestly don't have a lot of experience with paying the RPR after the fact. But generally speaking, it takes about 3 weeks. You're going to pay it. You're going to provide confirmation. Then it takes them a little while to get around to actually looking at it. So I'd say 3 to 4 weeks is probably fair in your circumstance. All right, Nishad. Hey, Mark, I'd sent you an email about 10 days ago and hoping I could get some clarification from you. Many thanks. Okay, Nishad. If you sent me an email asking a specific question, I probably had my assistant direct you to set up a paid consultation. I'll take a look back and see if it was one of the EE Live Q&A questions, but that's probably why I didn't respond. If you sent me a specific question without the EE Live Q&A in it, I probably directed it to my assistant, who then sent you an email to set up a paid consult. So that's how that works. Okay, hello, Mark, quick question. They're all quick questions, aren't they? I have joined in a company as a customer service representative in January 2014. Yes, so that's a NOC-C. Semi-skill. This is my first job. Later, I got promoted as a supervisor in the same company on July 2015, NOC-B skilled. So my question is, all right, here we go. A, all my total experience will be considered as skilled to obtain points in federal skilled worker and CRS. No, only your skilled, only the supervisor work experience will count. Okay, and B, if no, then my skilled experience will only be counted after June 2015. Yes, that's absolutely correct. So I think you said July, later you got promoted on July 2015, so yes. So once you start work in that NOC-B position, that's where your skilled work experience starts to count. All right, good luck. Okay, Akash. Hey Mark, how are you? How are the opportunities for IT professionals in Canada? Thanks for advice. Thanks for I think advice is what you were looking for there. You know what, Akash? This is a good opportunity for me to do some teaching for all of you guys that are watching. I'm going to flip back to here, and I'm going to blow up my screen so that everybody can see it, because I know most of you are watching on your handhelds. And I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to type in Job Bank. Job Bank. Now for you, you're probably going to type in gc.ca, Government of Canada. But if you go here, this is the location where you can get occupational outlooks across the country. So you can see here, your career starts here. So you go to menu, and then I go to by outlook. So this is basically the occupational outlook. What does the future look like for this occupation? So you click on by outlook, and then you type in your, let's type in software designer. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's go software designer, 2173. Let's click search. Okay. So there's the occupation, software designer software. We're going to click on here. And then you can see this is the occupational outlook for each of these occupations across the country. 1 star means there's way more people wanting that job than there are jobs available. So the prospects are really poor. Fair means there's probably about the same number of people wanting jobs that are jobs available. And if it says good, then that basically means, and I'm going to try and enlarge this for you guys so that you can see it well. So right here, if you can follow my mouse down from the top here, so good over here where I've highlighted basically means that there are lots of jobs and they're desperate for people to fill them. So if we look in Alberta here, generally speaking, it says 2 out of 3 stars for Alberta. And then as you scroll down, it shows all the different areas of Alberta and the specific outlook for that place. So here's Calgary, for instance, 2 out of 3 stars. Edmonton's 2 out of 3. And then really software developers and engineers are usually just in the large centers. So let's skip down here. So even Lethbridge, where my region here, it's undetermined because there isn't enough people that are actually looking to fill these positions. Okay, boy, I've got to do something about that light. I am truly going to be blind, you guys, because I can't even hardly see what I'm doing here. My eyes are going to start glassing over. Okay, so you can see now, look at British Columbia. So British Columbia, where all of the gaming companies, EA Sports, all of these gaming companies, like it is a hotbed for IT developers, software developers, gamers, designers, all these IT areas. You can see it's 3 out of 3 stars. So there are jobs available, absolutely. So and I bet you look, so Lower Mainland, 3 out of 3 stars. Okay, we go to Okanagan region, even in the interior BC, 3 stars. Vancouver Island, 3 stars. So you can see that there is huge demand for this in British Columbia. So we go to New Brunswick, same thing, 3 out of 3 stars. So this is where you go to look at all the different provinces and what the outlook is. I'm sure some of you want to know what's it like in Ontario. So let's go down to Ontario for all of you that are wanting to go there, even though Alberta is 5,000 times better. Ontario, 3 out of 3 stars. So the outlook is really good for all of you, okay? And this, you can see the release date here. So if you go down, you can see here, release date was December 23rd, 2016. So that's just recent, folks. So there you go. That's where you go. And all you need to do is punch in your position. And if I can't remember to post this link in the comments, just remind me, okay? So there was your bonus for all of you awesome people. And if you want to know what the prospects are like, this is where you go. All right. Hope that was helpful. Oh, I love the thumbs up. You guys are awesome. Okay. Mohammed says also my wife has done B.Ed as well. Okay. Perfect. Okay. And then we have Mohammed Rafay. Hi, Mark. I applied for my PR. It's in process through Provincial Nominee Program. I do have a Bridging Open work permit. Is it necessary to work with the same employer? Or can I change the job? It's hard because I do got job in Fort McMurray. Your advice highly appreciated. Wow, Mohammed, I hope, were you there when the fire just totally destroyed Fort McMurray? Not destroyed, but there was a huge fire. I don't know if those of you who were all over the world knew that, but in northern Alberta, there was a huge forest fire that caused the evacuation of the entire city of Fort McMurray. And that's where a lot of the oil and gas jobs are. That's a side note. So hopefully, Mohammed, you're safe and everything was fine. So your Bridging Open work permit, is it truly open? It is an open work permit. But if you went through a provincial nominee program, the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program, then it depends on your certificate, whether it is open or closed. And so you have to follow those instructions, and it's really based on the type of nomination certificate that you have. All right? Okay, Cynthia. Okay, as regards to your answer on listing your spouse as non-accompanying, if you decide to include your spouse much later, will he take a language skill and get his degree results evaluated? No, not at all, Cynthia. When someone is being included after the fact, so you become a permanent resident, then you're sponsoring them just like a spouse through the family class. You're not actually doing it through any economic category. So there's no assessment of anything other than, is your relationship genuine and were they examined? So if you are choosing to not include your spouse, you still have to include them, their name, and the fact that they're non-accompanying in your application. If you choose to not include your spouse, you cannot just pretend they don't exist and apply as a single applicant. If you do, you will be forever barred under Section 117(9)D of the Immigration Regulations from ever sponsoring them again. So what does it mean to include them? It means you disclose them, you indicate they're non-accompanying, they still have to obtain immigration medicals and police clearances. But they do not have their assessment through the comprehensive ranking system. But you must disclose them. Please, please remember, do not ever pretend you don't have a spouse and apply as a single. Okay? All right. Let's see here. Praveen, hi Mark, I had deposited 10,000 Canadian in Scotiabank student program for Indian students. But unfortunately, okay, Praveen's comment kind of drifted away there. Maybe he'll come back here. Let's see what else. Okay, Rahan says, Sir, how are you? Hope you find my confirmation letter and I will submit on Monday. How much more wait to come my visa? Confirmation letter. So I'm assuming you received your ITA and you're submitting your application, or you're providing your passport. It's not quite sure what stage you're at, Rahan. You need to be just a little bit more clear. Rika, thanks so much. Have a great night yourself. It's 10:26 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here. Church starts early for me at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So, yeah, it's going to be a late night for me. But fortunately, I didn't ride my bike today. I did have my car, so I'm not having to ride back. And you can see outside, it's dark. And, hey, look, there's the Scotiabank. So there's the Scotiabank. For Praveen, he was asking questions about that. Okay, Okay, Shirley says, what to expect after I submit additional polo? Oh, Shirley, I'm still confused. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to keep going here. Okay, okay, Praveen, okay, deposit 10,000 in the Scotia student account program for students, but unfortunately due to medical issues, I could not come to Canada for my study. Oh, can this money be used as proof of fund? Do you know what? That's something I'm not sure. You know what? I suspect, well, you know what? I can't answer it. I'm not familiar enough about that program. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Praveen. That's too bad that you had some medical issues. But, yeah, I'm not sure. I can't answer that one. Okay. What happens next after I submit additional police clearance required after I have already submitted eAPR? Okay, Shirley, yes. Okay, so fortunately, I'm assuming that they asked you to provide the additional police clearance, because I've seen a lot of people, Shirley, who didn't realize that frequent travel over a 10-year period, 1 week at a time, that accumulated to 6 months was enough to justify getting a police clearance, and they had their applications, refused for failing to provide the police clearance. But if, let's say, you're in Canada and they ask you to get an RCMP clearance or things like that, then basically it goes into the queue and you're back into the processing. But here's what happens. This is how IRCC is, and everybody pay attention to this. If they come back to you and ask you for additional information, then the 6-month processing time is out the door. Then no longer do processing times mean anything to them. So your file could sit for a long time. So understand that when you have a request for additional information, no longer do they have to adhere to the 6-month processing. So it can take a long time. One of my clients had a child, and they decided to go back to the U.S. to have the baby. Well, we just sent their passports in, and after they added the child, we got the police clearance. Sorry, not police clearance. We got the passport. We got an immigration medical done for the baby, and it took over 7 months. That was at the stage where they were getting their initial passport request. So it took another 7 months. So once they ask for any piece of information, then the processing times are out the door. Okay, Naz, is it necessary to show salary transfer past 6 months, or having enough amount in a bank account for 6 months or more will be okay? You just need to meet the requirements, right? You just need to have the money in your account and the bank give you a letter that says the average in that account for that 6 month period of time. And that's all the government asks for. So if you've got that, then satisfying that letter from your bank is enough. Okay, Theodore. Hi, Mark. I work as a police officer in Jamaica. My NOC is 4311. What I want to know is, even though I obtained my police experience outside Canada and it's skill level B, am I still able to use my work experience to get points? I work for 3.5 years. I was given points for this experience in EE, but I want to be certain. Yeah, if you have met the minimum requirements. So in other words, and do you know what, folks? I'm going to show you this, okay? Just so that all of you understand what I have done for you, all of you over the years. I have an awesome site called the Canadian Immigration Podcast, which I actually have another episode I need to release here. That has kind of drifted a little bit into the back because I've been so focused with this Express Entry group. But in that website, the Canadian Immigration Podcast website, I've done tons of different blogs. And one of the blogs is, I'll type it in here. I'm going to show you guys. Man, that light is going to burn my eyes out. I think I'm just about blind, you all. The sacrifices I make for you guys. All right, let me show you. I'm going to blow this up. Okay, and then I'm going to type here. So this is good for me because I'm in Canada and Google's smart. It knows that I'm searching for things in Canada. So I did a blog, Secret to Finding Your Correct NOC, EE. Let's see if this is it. There we go, the very first one. So I click on here, and I just recently updated this. So just on June 25th. This blog post that I did is freaking awesome. And I went to great pain and detail telling you exactly what you need to not only get a reference letter that works, but this tells you how to find, I'm confusing blog posts. This one tells you how to find your proper NOC. And one of the ways you find your NOC is by assessing your duties. And I'm going to show you here within this blog, and I'm going to expand it. Okay. So we talk about illegal work, how to classify your experience, how to go. And I even provide the links and screenshots right to the very page where the government has their national occupational classification. I'm going to close that out of the way. And then I use examples, job title, search the NOC. Okay, occupational structure, confirming. Okay, so this is where I actually show you what's required. So understand that when we are going through this process and we're trying to figure out what's Canadian work experience and what's foreign work experience and what's required, you can see right here, Canadian work experience. For you, it's foreign work experience. So this is the law. This is the actual section. So it says here, in order to be assigned points, you must have performed, and we'll go down here to B, must have performed the actions described in the lead statement, as well as a substantial number of the main duties. So that there is really the foundation of work experience for all of you guys. So Theodore, when you're assessing whether or not you can claim work experience for your work as a police officer, your duties just need to match that of a police officer within the NOC. And so if 4311 is the one that you're using, and I'm going to go back here because, hey, why not just keep 4311, I think is what we said there. I'm going to go to the NOC 2011, and then I'm going to type it in here, 4311, pull it up, see if I guessed right, or there, police officers. Okay, so you can see here. So this is the lead statement right here. You need to be able to have done all those activities. So protect the public, detect and prevent crime, perform other activities directed at maintaining law and order. And so all those, and then a substantial number of these main duties. And so if you've done that, then you're good. Down here, employment requirements, these are irrelevant. It doesn't matter. As long as you were a police officer and performed these duties in your country, any of these employment requirements, they don't apply. And that goes for every occupation that people are trying to get credit for. Just because you don't have the necessarily the educational requirements, or for that position, the employment requirements, it doesn't matter. It's all about the main duties and that lead statement. All right. Okay. Oh, here's perfect. Suhail Shafiq says, I messaged you, but you didn't reply. Suhail, I receive over 1,000 messenger requests every week. And so please understand, I do my very best to respond, but until I hire more staff, I just can't answer everybody's messenger. I'm going to go through and give a big push here in the next couple of days and try and get back to people. But if you sent me a specific question, you need to send it to, I'm going to show you guys so that you can see what I'm talking about. If you have a specific question, you need to send it to this link right here. And this is where you can book a consultation with me. So as soon as this loads up here, I think I've got it going. Wow, the internet's really slow. Hopefully it loads, and hopefully there isn't any issues here. Look at that wheel. Isn't that frustrating? Whatever. I'll get back to it in a second. I'm not going to waste any more time waiting for it. All right, so basically you need to, anything specific, I'm going to direct you back to booking a paid consultation with me, okay? People that post on the Express Entry Law Facebook group, I don't mind answering those because there's 49,000 other people that can also benefit from it. And so that's why I don't answer always or get back to you so quickly. Okay. So Suhail said I asked for judicial review. Yes, judicial review is a nasty process, and you have to act very quickly. Otherwise, you will reach a limitation period. So you have to choose if you're going to judicially review something. You have to do so quickly. But yeah, Suhail, that's why I didn't answer. Boy, the internet is so slow here. I'm not sure why that's not working. Okay. Wonder how many questions we have here. Okay, Akash says my CRS is 413. Will cutoff come down to 413? It's hard to say. We've seen an upward trend, that's for sure. So I'm not sure, like, if it will get down to 413. I just don't know, Akash. Obviously, you're going to keep your profile in. You're going to do what you can to try to increase in any way you can. But at this stage, it's hard to say. Okay, Supriya. Mark, can my parents gift me money to be used as proof of funds, and will it be okay if I add it to my account after getting the ITA? So you've seen what I've talked about it. The strict interpretation is 6 months in your account, showing that those funds are there. Well, it doesn't necessarily say 6 months, and I better qualify it. Otherwise, people will say, it doesn't say that. No. But I personally like to see that the money has been in the account before the ITA is granted. And I always tell my people, if your parents are going to give you the money, then have them give it to you 6 months before. Excuse me. Have them give it to you 6 months before in advance. Then you've got it in the account. But if it is gifted, then you need to trace it. You need to be able to show exactly where it came from. I always include the sending account where it comes from and the confirmation, the wire transfers or however it was transferred into your account. I always make sure that there is an irrevocable gift, so that there's a sworn statement from your parents saying this is a gift. It's not a loan. It's our own free will because we love our we love our child, and that's why we're doing it. So people do it, yes. But it's not a situation where I would say 100% guarantee it will work, because that's not what the policy reads. And an officer could take a strict interpretation and say, well, no, those funds, I haven't been satisfied. They're actually yours, or that they were accumulated the way we wanted you to. And so, but you can, if you're in the situation, you have the ITA, you have no other choice, then do it. But make sure you document everything, track it, show the source of the funds, and make sure that they know they are truly yours to settle in Canada. Okay, another question about CRS is 428. Would it drop down to 423? Maybe that's 428 as well, Shami. It's just hard to say. Those are questions that are difficult to answer. Yes, is OINP closed for the year? I have no freaking clue. They close it, they open it. They announce with great fanfare these new programs. It's filled up in a day. I hate it. I hate the OINP. I can't answer, and in fact, no one can. No one knows. Anyone who says they have their ear to the ground and that they know exactly when these P&P programs are opening, no, it's not the case. Okay. Hi, Mark. My bank letter does not show my email ID. Can I change the letter after submitting my application? No, you have no ability to change documents after you've uploaded them. Not having your email ID is probably not fatal. That one's probably not going to kill you. But you need to make sure that all the other information is in there. Really important. Okay. Itesham. Hi, Mark. Good day. I wanted to ask you, currently I'm single and waiting for ITA. Once I get an ITA, submit my documents, and then get married and inform CIC. Will my CRS points be recalculated? Can I add my spouse in the same application, or my CRS points will be recalculated, and how to wait for ITA based upon the new CRS points? Okay, so it all depends on when you are getting married. So if you are getting married before, then your spouse has to be included at that time. If you're planning on getting married, this is the same situation as listing your spouse as non-accompanying, really. If you are getting married partway through the process after you receive your ITA, I'll tell you, that's kind of ugly. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have to obviously disclose that new marriage. And in fairness, getting married after you receive your ITA is actually probably better than listing them as non-accompanying and then very quickly saying, no, I want them to accompany me after you've filed your eAPR. But how it works is there's a lock-in period of time. So basically, when you receive your ITA and you submit your eAPR, once that application is accepted as being complete, then your comprehensive ranking system is locked in. And so you're not going to lose any points under that. Okay? So, excuse me. So that's basically how it works. After you've filed your eAPR and it's been accepted as complete, then that's when everything is locked in. And so no longer will your spouse be a part of it. All right. I don't know how long this is going to go. Hopefully you guys don't kill me here. It's like an hour and 30 minutes. My neck is starting to cramp up. My eyes are going blurry from the bright light in my face. I definitely need to get a softer light. Okay, we'll go a few more here, but I hope you guys can appreciate that I'm wearing out here. This is a long video. Okay, after completing 2 years of studies in Canada, Ontario, I got 3 years work permit. Then I came back to my country. Due to some family matters, I never used my work permit, which is going to finish in October. In future, can I apply for express entry from India, or any other suggestions on how will CIC take it that I never used the work permit? They don't care. They don't care if you've never used the work permit. It's not a big deal. Obviously, you'll get no credit for it. You can't get a new work permit. You've already burned up all of your post-grad work permit years. It really has no impact. You'll get your points for your schooling, but there's no impact negatively. Okay, so Theodore is expanding on his police officer question. 5 months and a couple days we're training. I'm wondering, should I say I have 3 years of experience? After getting ITA, my police agency gave me an experience letter saying I worked for 3.5 years, which with the list of duties. Is this okay? Start training November 22nd, April, and after continued to work. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of the specifics, Theodore, but even training is still considered work. So every person who starts a new job goes through a period of training. So as long as the reference letter confirms that you were actually working in that occupation during that time, whether you're an apprentice, whether you are an intern, like for lawyers in Canada, they're articling students. You're still considered a lawyer for the purposes of the NOC, so that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, Gurpreet says, any chance for federal skilled trade program? Well, we saw that program, didn't we? It's hard to say. No one knows. It's just, I don't have any intel from the inside. It's hard to say. Just make sure your profile's in, that you're ready, and if fortune smiles brightly upon you, Gurpreet, then maybe you just might be the next person to get that ITA. All right. Cha. Okay, I think I'm going to have to end with Cha, folks. So hopefully everybody understands, and then I'll kind of go on later and try to answer everyone's specific questions. Or I should say the comments. Hi, Mark. I've already received an ITA. Congratulations. That's fantastic. And I submitted my eAPR. I've already submitted my bank account statement as proof of funds, and I have more than enough to cover a family of 3. However, I've made withdrawals recently from one of my accounts The amount left, however, is still enough to cover the 3 of us. But since the amount in my account is less than what is stated in my bank certificate and bank statement that I've submitted, would it affect my application? Do I need to submit a new bank statement and certificate? Thanks. No. People, they realize that money goes up and down in accounts. As long as it is always above that minimum low income cutoff amount that they have for your family, then you're going to be fine. And once you've submitted everything, it's basically locked in, like I said, once they receive the eAPR. All right? When it comes time for your funds, you will also need to show those funds when you land as a permanent resident. So they may go up or down, like I said, but they can't drop down below because you need to be able to demonstrate that when you're actually landing for permanent residence at a Canadian port of entry when you're obtaining your official permanent residence. Okay. All right, folks, my eyes are officially shot. I am definitely, they're probably, I'm probably all red now because of this darn light. But otherwise, you'd be looking at me like this if I wasn't making the sacrifice to turn that light on. Anyways, I want to express sincere appreciation to all of you who've stuck it out with me. It looks like we've had a good number of people that have come in. And so we'll assess this time. I'll be honest, I'm doing this at everyone's request, 9 p.m. It started right around 9 p.m. on Saturday, just like everyone voted, but not everybody is on that had voted. So what that means is I'm not convinced that this is necessarily the best time to do it. So I will keep everyone posted because this is pretty late and it's pretty inconvenient for my family. So if there was a whole, like thousands of people that were on live, then you bet we could address it. But at this stage, the jury's still out whether I'm going to keep doing it here. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to end for today. I also want to just conclude with a couple last minute comments. Like I said here, the express entry complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself is the sponsor of this EE Live Q&A. On July 31st, it is going to be closed to new subscriptions. So people that want to register for it are going to have to do it now if they want to take advantage of the low $39 a month rate. Now remember, you put your credit card in and it's an automatic renewal. So you have to cancel it in advance of that month. And if you want to opt out. But you can stay in as long as you want. It's entirely up to you, but it's an automatic renewal. So this is created for you guys, and the price is going to go up, but I'm going to close it off to new subscriptions, so you have just a couple more days to subscribe if you want to get in at the low rate. And understand the changes that I'm making are going to be more cosmetic. In other words, the foundation, everything that you need is in there. I'm essentially just going to make it more pretty. I'm going to clean up some of the videos, make them a little bit more clear, but the content is still awesome in there. It's not going to change. It has everything that you need to be able to get through and apply for your own express entry. I'll also throw in that if you want to set up a consult with me at any time, I'm happy to answer any of your specific questions. I'll put a link in the comment section. And if you want to retain me, understand I do this for all of you. But I would be delighted to be your immigration lawyer, to represent you through the whole process. And I have a number of our Express Entry Law Facebook group members that do hire me and retain me as their lawyer. We have a Skype call. We communicate all the time, and you deal with me, not like some low-level clerks that you never have any contact with me. I use my assistant, Charlene. I use Billy. But you deal with me. I'm the one who files your application. And that's why I charge what I do. I'm not having some clerk who doesn't have any experience or knows less than the process about the process than you do completing your application. It's me. All right, folks, it was a pleasure, and I think I've said pretty much everything that I need to say. But thanks once again, and stay tuned for the next EE Live Q&A. Good luck, everyone, as you navigate this crazy express entry process. Take care.